What happens when the, quote, new kid on the block sits down with two seasoned autism moms? You get real talk, plenty of laughter, and a whole lot of wisdom about parenting neurodivergent kids through different seasons of life. Hi, I'm Greer, and this is the Unfinished Idea podcast, a space where we have honest conversations about the everyday in neurodivergent parenting, being neurodivergent ourselves, and building community so you never have to feel like you're walking this journey alone. Today, I am joined by Brittney and Tash from the Moms Talk Autism podcast. They're half of the group. We're diving into how to pivot when plans fall apart, navigate school systems, educate family and friends, and carrying the emotional load of constantly advocating. It's honest, encouraging, and full of those Me Too moments that we all need to hear. If you've got a moment, would you mind rating and reviewing the show? It helps more people find us, learn what we're about, and become part of this growing community. Your words make a big difference, so thank you. So grab your drink and let's dive into today's conversation. All right, today we have a really fun episode because we have two guests on, not just one. So first we have Brittney. If you want to say hi, Brittney.
Hello.
And we also have Tash.
Hello.
Brittney and Tash are part of the Autism Moms podcast crew. There's two others who will be joining us in another episode. I shouldn't say later because that makes it sound like
yes, later
coming
in this episode. Hopefully someday they will be on as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One day in the future they will be here. But we're just having a chat. So Brittney and Tash, you both have children who are older than mine. Mine are 6 and 3. So you've been doing this a little longer. So I'm here for you to tell me all the answers, basically. That's why we're here.
Greer, Brittney's the OG because she's been doing it the longest. She with her 18-year-old, and so Brittney, take it away because
take it away. Well, we're not going to be able to tell you anything. So just, I'm going to make sure we're setting the precedent right now. Like we do not have any of the answers.
No answers.
We have a lot of experience and no answers. So, but we can definitely talk about it. So yes, I live in Northern California on the West Coast of the US, and I have 4 kids. My oldest is 21 and then 18, 17. Those are my boys. And then I have an 11-year-old little girl. And my 18-year-old is non-speaking, very profoundly impacted by his diagnosis, which is autism and intellectual disability, anxiety, OCD, sleep disorders, eating disorders. He cannot really communicate very well. He's what some people would consider nonverbal. He doesn't use his voice to speak. He uses gestures and, kind of sometimes a little bit of signing and a little bit of using an electronic device that speaks for him. It's a kind of a combination of all those things. And then my 11-year-old is also autistic, and she is able to go to a public elementary school, but she has a lot of support there and she's in a special education classroom on that campus. So that's my family. I'm married to my husband, and we've been together for 20, I have to count it now. It's like, I don't even know my own age anymore. 23 years. So yeah, that's us.
Wow.
That's
See,
fun.
She's the OG.
Yeah.
Greer. She's the OG. Marriage.
I've been married longer than I'm single now, which is crazy to think about, right? Like,
yeah.
So weird.
We're so young because we're so young.
I'm still 23, right? 24, 25, somewhere in there.
Well,
yeah.
I was like, I blame COVID, but I literally have been telling people
I'm
a year younger than I actually am, like for the last 3 years.
You just stay with that. It's fine. No one needs to know.
I mean, like, well, my brother called me out. I posted about it on social media, and he commented underneath, "Aren't you 34?" And I was like,
of course your brother would do that.
He's like, actually,
yeah, so
brothers do.
yeah. He's like, I was like, oh yeah, I am.
He's like, don't
okay.
rain on my parade, brother.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna think I'm a liar. But I was like, genuinely, I have literally thought I was a year younger than I Like
once you hit 30, it really doesn't matter that much anymore.
Yeah. And then that's when you really start having to do the math. You're like, wait a second, what year was I born? Okay, yeah, okay, that's right. Oh, yes, 43.
Okay, so Tash, explain explain yourself. Wow, that was rude. Sorry.
She does need to explain
You know
herself a
what?
lot.
I've had that more than enough times in my life, so I don't take offense to that. I will.
Okay.
I will explain my side of the story.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. I was trying to say, can you tell us your story? And yeah, I should just say it is 5:00 my time.
Yes, and we are fresh and
it's not. Yeah, so I just want to put that out there. So whoever's listening to this when this comes out, that's where we're at. So anyways, Tash, who are you? That's what I'm trying to say.
Greer's exhausted from the day, and Brittney and I are just over here in the U.S. just nice and woke up, caffeinated, bubbly things. Hi. So yes, Greer, I am Tash, Natasha Dillman. I have 2 kiddos. I have a typical daughter who is just turned 10. And then my son, Jack, is my neurodiverse kiddo, and he is 11, almost 12. I'm married to my husband, 15 years.
That sounds right.
That's about right. Yeah.
I keep track of these
I'm
things
in
for
my
you.
lower 40s.
Sure.
And yeah, my husband's a first responder. So we have kind of like a, coordinated, chaotic life, if you will. A lot of solo parenting I do. And then, yeah, my son, Jack, was actually a twin. His twin passed after their very traumatic birth. So yeah, we've had quite the start to life, and then within the first few years, recognizing things were different, than what we could see around us of our friends, and now we're, like I said, let's see, 11, so we're 8 years into our diagnosis, 9 years into our diagnosis. So yeah,
wow, what's changed in those 9 to more than 9 years?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like a lot has changed even in the last 2 years. But
yes,
what would you say is maybe the biggest change you've seen, kind of as you've navigated that?
I would say, because like we were talking before we started recording, and just how you're in it. I would say it doesn't, and maybe Brittney can attest to this as well. It doesn't. Things don't necessarily get easier, they just become different, right? And then I think as a parent, you become more seasoned and you become more settled in yourself, just period, as growing older, that you start to see and feel and do things from a different perspective. You just become a little bit more settled in yourself. So the things are still there and they're ever changing, right? My son Jack is now, this is his first year in middle school. He's 6th grader, but we're in like hormones and we're growing, and there's a whole new barrage of hard things, but also I'm settled. So it doesn't feels like I can handle it better, I suppose. Does that make
you have experience under your belt. It's not all shocking and new, and you're not reacting to things. Instead, you're able to assess the situation and then react like you have before, or change because you have something to go off of now. I think that's
now being more on the offense versus the defense,
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. So
that's a good reminder of
but just wait, Greer, because hormones come.
Yeah. I was like, don't get me wrong. But I was as you were talking, something that I don't know, a lot of what I've tried to do today is set up some systems so that automations will set up, but you have to do that kind of front end of setting it up. And as you were talking, I was like, okay, that's the stage I think I'm in, is I'm setting up those, not that my children are automations, but you know what I mean? Just like I'm setting up those systems now so that for a few years they'll run. But of course, obviously you always need to tweak and change. But that's a good, and kind of knowing, there'll come a point.
There's nothing wrong with coming up with a game plan ahead of time. I mean, sometimes it's really difficult to make an appropriate decision, not necessarily the right one, but to make a decision in the moment, because there is a lot of reaction, or there's safety concerns, or your child's in distress in some way, and so it's difficult if you don't have something in place ahead of time, whether that's for a behavior or something at the school, or you're in public and it's a safety thing, whatever it is. Then maybe you would, if you had a little bit of time to reflect or had a game plan, of some kind, a system, then maybe you would do it a little bit differently. And I think the trick with it is, like set up all the systems you want. We all do. I have a million of them. I love to set up a system, as Tash knows. But the key is, and this comes with experience, the key is to be able to pivot and be flexible with it, even in the moment sometimes. Like best laid plans are wonderful, but you need to be able to drop everything and change it too. And the more times you do that, it's a muscle, you develop it, it gets better.
And I think too, a little bit, Greer, that's okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
We had a visitor.
Sorry, just a second. I'm just doing an orange for him. I have like 5 million snacks set out for them. And of course, they picked the one that I didn't set out for him that has to be peeled.
That needs assistance. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Again, pivoting at its finest.
Yeah.
I have a little story I can tell you about that. My son, my 18-year-old, went upstairs the other day and went into my bathroom. And he likes long, skinny, he likes sticks and pencils and things that he can stem with. And so he found my electric toothbrush.
Oh, Lord.
And he threw it. And I did not realize this until it was time to go to bed at night. My husband's brushing his teeth next to me in the bathroom sink. And I look over and my toothbrush is not there. And I look at him and he looks at me and we both said Austin at the same time, which is my son's name. The great toothbrush hunt began, and we went all underneath the bed because he'll just throw stuff in random corners. That's kind of his jam. When he's done with it, he didn't feel like it was a sufficient stimming, device for him. And so I'm looking, I'm pulling dressers out behind in closets and piles of clothes are flying. And I'm just trying to find my toothbrush. I just want to go to bed, And we did eventually find it. Luckily, it didn't end up in the toilet or the garbage can, luckily, which is always a possibility. And I got, I cleaned it off and things and went on my merry way. But now I have clothes everywhere in my house. And that snowballed into me trying on all of my clothes and getting 4 grocery bags full of clothing to donate, including I tried on every single one of my swimming suits, my underwear, everything. It spiraled. It spiraled, and it's all thanks to him and losing my toothbrush. So you know what? Sometimes that's a good thing. My closet looks fabulous now.
Yes. So I was just going to say, sometimes a crazy situation turns out to be just what we needed when we didn't know we needed it.
I thanked him and gave him a big hug the next day.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making me do this. I can now find that pair of pants I was looking for the other day because I know where it is. Thank you.
Goodness. Yeah. I just to kind of go back, Greer, to that pivoting thing. I think too, like Brittney was saying, that becomes just so much easier when the more time that has gone by, right? Because again, we not that we lowered our expectations, but we also are not, again, just that reactive, right? So that pivoting doesn't necessarily feel frustrating or like,
good point.
Like it's ruined the day or the trip or the, insert situation, here kind of thing. So
yeah, I like that.
I would just,
that's good.
Like you're in the thick of it, right? Like this is, and for you've been in the system when I say the system, you've been in the school system for a while. But also too, just, I would say like you going from, living in America and understanding that to then, navigating a whole new beast in the UK, right? In the sense of healthcare, educational, all of that. So that's just like another level of added stress, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm finding, I don't know if it's just so far this year but I'm definitely finding there's more, like school things that I'm like, they're just like, oh, that's just normal. That's, like how every school does it. And I really do believe them. Like that is how every school does it. Like that's not just a thing they're saying, to make it more normal. Right. But like genuinely, I'm like, I can see every school doing this because is that correct? But it's like, it's just so, trying to figure out the school system. I think I've struggled more this year. And I don't know why. I would have thought, our first year of him starting school, I don't know why this year. But it's definitely another layer of like figuring out, this is how they do things. And culturally that is accepted. And do I fight this battle or do I not? Or, like just that.
Yeah.
That's a very key distinction of learning any system, even if you did grow up in it like Tosh and I did.
Right.
Our children go to similar, school settings than we did many years ago. But yeah, it's interesting because you have to pick your battles, but also just because something has always been done a way doesn't necessarily mean that is the way it needs to continue. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to change the world and change the whole system from the ground up, but maybe we change or we make exceptions or we, possibly rearrange things to accommodate certain people, such as our own child or another child in that class. Your children aren't the only ones who are struggling with whatever that thing is, but it's important to work with a team and come up with solutions that work not only for your child, but for, that makes sense for the school itself. And that's ideal, right?
Yeah.
When you can change something in a way where they can implement it in somewhat of an, smooth transition and makes it easier for not only the staff, but for your child. You're trying to help your kid and you're trying to improve things and you're trying to give them the best education you can, but you don't want to make it difficult for everyone at the school either. Like it needs to be a system that works for them too. So it's a team effort. It really is.
Yeah. I do think though, that's the great thing for you, Greer, is that you're early in this to where your awareness, your advocacy, all of that is, I would say, much bigger than, for me, example, where I was, and just knowing my rights and Jack's rights. And then also being like, okay, I'm not comfortable with this, this doesn't seem right to me. I guess that's what's so great about starting the podcast is that's why we started it here in the States, is that, I didn't have this luxury of this wealth of like knowledge from other people, so I would say, I feel like you are going to be light years ahead of, your advocacy and doing the really good work for those future generations, right? Because it is, yes, right now about your son, but it's also that ripple effect is like, you're not just doing it for your son, you're doing it for all of these other kids or parents that don't yet know, that their child has or, will have this diagnosis. So just kudos to you. I think that's awesome.
What would you say, again, having a little bit more experience, to someone who, I'm thinking about like the grandparents or the aunts, the best friend who's kind of supporting those people. What would you want to say to them?
My advice, especially if you're just beginning with a diagnosis, we've established that something is maybe different or we need some attention, whether that's through the school or medically, right? Maybe you've even received a diagnosis of some kind, and you're not the immediate caregiver, but you're maybe one or two levels, close to those parents. The number one of the most important things, not the number one, but one of the most important things is to educate yourself. Mm-hmm. That's listening to podcasts. It's maybe reading some literature. It's going on websites. It's talking to, looking for those professionals, doing searches on the internet, whatever that is for you, whatever way you want to search and find those things, and just start consuming some of that content, right? I think a fabulous way to do that is to go on social media and follow and watch and talk, hear other autistic individuals or other neurodivergent individuals who are maybe older adults themselves.
Yeah.
And see what they're saying about what it's like. They have firsthand experience, way more than Tosh and I do. We have caregiver experience, but we don't have that firsthand experience. So I think that's a great way to start. And then the most important thing is to talk to those parents themselves and say, what do you really need from me? Now, it's call me if you need anything is lovely. If you need anything, just give me a call. Let me know if there's anything I can do. That's great. I'm sure it's very heartfelt, but let's be a little bit more maybe proactive about it. Intentional. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So really sit down and ask questions, be curious, ask about that doctor's appointment, ask about that diagnosis, ask follow-up questions, really listen to what they're saying, and then say, well, it sounds like this is maybe somewhere, that I could support you. Is that what you need? Or do you want to think about it and get back to me? I'll call you again in 2 days. Don't wait for them to call you, that kind of thing. Sometimes parents, especially if it's brand new, they don't even know what they need yet. Right. They just don't know. So maybe start with that education piece for yourself until they're ready, and then just check in. The most wonderful people in my life, those who are supporting me as the caregiver, are the ones who I can call and I can say, hey, I need something. And they say, and I said, well, I haven't even told you what it is yet. And they say, it doesn't matter. What do you need?
Yeah.
And building that relationship, with that person. So that's kind of, I don't know, Tash, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say, I think my biggest thing that I've recognized is yes, the help that I need, right? I don't need you to fix my child. My child doesn't need to be fixed. I think, and again, now that I'm more seasoned in this journey, I don't take offense to things like I used to in the beginning. I don't want unwarranted advice, right? Like don't tell me to, you heard from a friend who has a grandchild with autism that, that a celery juice diet worked or whatever,
I've heard it all. Yeah.
I more want the support for me and like, what can you do to alleviate, I don't want to say burden because it's not a burden, but that's just the struggle of being a parent, whether that's typical or diverse. But let's be honest, in being a parent to a neurodivergent child is exhausting. It's a little bit more, caregiver load than typical kids. So just being willing to come in and help and support and, take my kiddo for a day without any kind of like, oh, I got these, I'll do it. But these are the guidelines. It's like, and so some of that to me is that jumping in and really getting the knowledge and understanding of autism from a scientific based research, not from, a friend of a friend of a friend who's got whatever. And just having a better, deeper understanding of my kiddo.
Yeah, you can start with that base, that scientific, like do the research online or whatever, wherever you get it. But then you need to apply it to this individual situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're all different, right? I'm sure, Greer,
right.
you can attest to that too. Like if you know one autistic person, you know one autistic person. You don't know all the autistic people.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
I remember someone saying to me, autism is one word for many worlds.
Yeah.
And just that idea.
That's great. That's so good.
Like we say autism, but that can mean almost anything, I think about, and that idea that, like you said, it's that good to get that not baseline big, but then to kind of bring it in to have those specific questions to
to who is your child? What are their likes and dislikes? What, absolutely. I do want to share, I just remembered this. I was at Bible study yesterday at church and in a women's group or whatever. And the previous week I had, it was the first week. So we all shared about who we were or whatever. And of course I always share that I have an autistic child and I'm a huge advocate for, inclusion, all of that kind of stuff. Anyways, and I had just happened to mention the Time magazine that's out right now with the whole magazine is on autism. And I just said, it's a great magazine to pick up. And, whether you know somebody directly or you just want to be more educated and knowledgeable in what that means. But this week, a woman came back and she's like, oh my gosh, I bought that Time magazine. And she's like, I'm not done with it yet because it's, it's pretty big. She's like, but it is very interesting. She's like, a lot of the stuff that I thought, or that I've heard, which I love to call old wives' tales, is not actually what it is, but that's that part of that, like, before you know it, you're kind of just like, it's part of your life. You're sharing about it and you're automatically advocating or educating people without, it's just like your fifth appendage there, you just, it's part of you.
It's so interesting. So we had this rally happen. So when we're recording this, it happened on the Monday in the UK because there's a big thing right now where they're wanting to reform the whole process and cut funding, particularly EHCPs. And so we all did this rally and obviously posting about it. I was part of the kind of team that helped planned it. And this lady, doesn't even follow me. So I'm not sure. Obviously the algorithm just showed up, but she commented and she said, basically said, I'm going to totally summarize, but there's kids in her kids' school who are out of control and just, not getting the support they need. And let's be honest, they're not going to be doctors or make anything of themselves. And I was like, normally when people make stupid comments, I just ignore, I'm not gonna. But I was like, hold up a second. Like, actually, this is the whole point. Like, this is the whole point of why we did the rally, was because these kids aren't getting the support they need. Like, you're correct. They aren't getting the support they need and they are acting crazy. And I'm sorry that that's happening in your kids' school. But this is the whole point of the rally, so that they can get the support they need, because it takes years. Like, the only reason we have gotten support is because I've gone in every week and said, right, how are we going to do this? How am I going to do that? Like, but some parents can't do that. Like, they can't do that. And so I was like, second off, like, I'm married to someone who's in the medical field, who's autistic. Let's look at Bill Gates. Let's look at, Apple. I said, we may or may not want to look at Tesla. Like, but like,
we don't.
These
many examples that prove you wrong.
People who
I was like, here are like big names. Because I was trying to think of like some other ones. I was like, I don't know where she lives, but these are people she'll know. Like, these are big names that people. Sure. And I was like, and she just went back and goes, oh, okay, fine. So I was like, I don't know. Like, that's fine. But I was just like, that to me was really hard. I thought we've gotten past the whole, they're not going to make anything of themselves, or, but actually I was like, no, people still believe that. Like, there are people who still think that about, about children and their needs. And so I was like, yeah, no, we're going to stop that. But yeah, it's taking time to even, like, you point them to something else, like the Time magazine, or to another website, or to, so that way you don't always have to advocate. Like, you're already advocating for your children. You don't.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't want any sense. I don't know.
Absolutely. We've talked about this on multiple episodes, I feel like, right, Britt, where it does become exhausting, right? It's like we're constantly fighting for our kid in that direct bubble of, whether it be the school districts, doctors, whoever it is that we have to kind of, I don't want to say fight against, but a little bit, we have to advocate for that, having to like educate all of these other people, just like in a grocery store, or, at church, or at a rally, or whatever. It's like, why do I have to do this? Right? Like, why, but then for me specifically, I think that, it goes back to just that, people that are ignorant will continue to be ignorant unless they're taught differently. Right. So for me, it's just, I will always stand up to share. Actually, did you know?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys watch The Office, the American Office, but Oscar is
is there a British Office?
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. That's what the American Office is based off of.
We don't have time for this today.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Mind exploding. Brittney, you need to tell me about this later.
We will have a discussion off mic about that. Oh my goodness. Okay, Go ahead, Greer.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm glad you can.
I will take that.
I'm glad you can advocate for The Office on that one. But yeah, so, and there's Oscar, and he's like the actually man. We watch The Office a lot. I'm Michael Scott. My husband's Oscar. And like the amount of times the more and more we watch that, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I am Michael Scott, who has the weird costumes and the meetings. Oh yeah. But and then the actually is very much my husband, because he is very factual. He knows part of his brain, how it's wired.
Yeah.
Because he's autistic. Like, he loves facts and he loves that kind of knowledge. Like that science, which is why he's a nurse, and that's great. But it's so funny when he gets into, we call it advocate mode. So and he does a lot more. So I do a lot of the school stuff and the mums and the like advocating for school, doctor, that kind of thing. But the educating, the like, when my son's having a meltdown in public and someone makes a comment, sometimes I will, but he's the one that does it, if that makes sense. Like he'll go, and he does it. He literally points at me and goes, actually, and like spews this stuff. He says actually, but then he kind of sounds a little bit like Sheldon. Like in the kind of robotic, like
nothing wrong with
he's
that.
very
That's
tall
great.
and like,
yeah.
But it's so interesting. Just the roles, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is like how, for him, that's how he can advocate and how he can like I don't want to say his part to play, but you know what I mean? Just that's kind of where he can fit in and make a difference and do that. And then, this is where I can.
I think it's important to realize that we will always advocate for our children. We love our children deeply, and we will always try to find the best course for them to live a happy life.
Yeah.
Our children don't have to be the next Bill Gates or the next neurosurgeon.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to, that's lovely, and we will support that and we will help you try to achieve that dream. But our number one goal is for you to be happy. And to feel like you are a contributing member to society and are living a happy life in whatever capacity that is.
Yeah.
And so that's number one. And that also goes for you. You get to have that too as the caregiver. Okay. So if you don't have it within you to fight that battle that day with that mom on the playground, you don't have to do it. It's okay. It's okay to take a break. Okay. But if you do have the energy and the capacity and you're feeling like you can speak up, then do it.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can. You don't have to fight every single little thing at the school in that moment today, next week, because we have to have this in set. Like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yes.
Okay. We're not going to educate everyone by the end of the year, but you can make a difference. You can take little steps and you can slowly get to where you need to be. And even standing still and maintaining is okay at times if that's what you need to do in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like Tash said, like, things are never going to be, we can't guarantee they're going to be easier for you, but we can tell you it's going to change. And sometimes when you're changing, you need to breathe for a minute and take a break and step back and take a look at everything. Like, you don't have to keep barreling forward, especially if there's a big change coming. So
we settle in who we are as people. And, sometimes I'm just not that aggressive, little tiger, hyena, chihuahua, whatever you want to call it, that I used to be, back 5 years ago, and now sometimes it is just to protect my own peace and my own peace of mind and just I don't want to deal with this today, and then there are those days where I'm like,
and lucky are those people who get that, Tash. But if you poke the Tashi bear sometimes.
Yes, if you do. Yeah. I think too, it's
watch out.
All in our personalities, right? As who we are, just as people, who we just naturally are without even having, an autistic child or an autistic spouse or whatever it might be, that we are just, that's the kind of person we are. We're fighters or we're, lovers, or we're just, going to stay calm over here or whatever. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ladies, I knew I said this before we hit record, we could talk forever, but I'm aware of time. So I have one more question that I love to just ask. My question is, what do you want the world to know about neurodiverse people?
I loved that phrase that you said, and I even wrote it down. That I always write it down. I'm the note taker. That autism it's one word for infinite worlds, right? I paraphrased it a little. That's really, really key. And if you go into, maybe you have very little or no knowledge about the neurodivergent world or those kinds of people in your lives, right? If you start at that place, you're already kind of ahead. And you have to constantly kind of keep reminding yourself of that. You can make some generalizations, and that's fine, but you really, really always need to come back to, because that's what's so complicated about neurodivergence. It's so wrapped up into personality and circumstance and age and gender and everything that you really, really have to individualize your relationships with just like you would with any person, but even more so with maybe somebody who's neurodiverse and doesn't do things in the quote typical way. So that's I don't know. That's what came to mind first.
Yeah, no, I love that. I would echo that completely. Right. And I have a neurodivergent brain myself, but I'm also not autistic, and so I will never be able to speak to that of who my son totally is. I do right now because he's my child, and I kind of speak for him a little bit, but he's his own person, and I'm my own person and my neurodivergence. So again, just get to know the person, or have a deeper understanding from their perspective, or if they can't share that with you because they're young, then have a deeper understanding from their parents or caregiver,
Yeah, that's really good. And like you said, just their person. At the end of the day, they are a person, and
that's way more important than any label.
Any label. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for this mini therapy session. I will send you an invoice.
Anytime.
Just kidding. It was great. Thank you. Before we go, where can people find you, or how do you want to be found in case they want to follow you?
Do we want to be found? And I think the answer is yes.
Oof.
Most of the time we do. And
time.
how you can find us is you can email us at hello@momstalkautism.com. The name of our podcast is Moms Talk Autism. So even if you do a search engine and you just type in Moms Talk Autism, everything should kind of pop up. That's our social media. We're on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. We have the podcast. We have various ways that you can watch and listen to us. Yes, and that's probably the best way. But if you want to send us a direct question or want to follow up with something we've talked about today, you can email us as well at hello@momstalkautism.com. So
perfect. And yeah, all of those will be linked in the show notes as well. So
awesome.
Well, thank you, ladies, for being on and just sharing more of life.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this, we interviewed Greer on our podcast too.
So
you can go back and listen to her. So check that out too.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Greer.
Yes, thank you.
One thing I'm taking away from today's conversation is that flexibility isn't just a nice skill, it's a survival tool for neurodivergent families. Sometimes the best moments come from the pivots we didn't plan. And today's vocab moment is all about pivoting, a skill every neurodivergent parent develops over time. It is the ability to adapt in the moment when plans change unexpectedly, whether that's a public meltdown, a lost toothbrush, or a school system curveball. Hey friend, if this episode resonated with you and you know a mama who might need to hear it, share the link and let them know why you thought of them. Thanks for being part of the conversation today, and we'll see you next week.